the biggest impact on your well-being and one of the biggest impact on your mental health is alcohol. Drinking too much is literally a mental health issue, isn't it? Alcohol dependence is listed in the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Health, the Bible of mental health problems. It's a mental health problem, so it should be a part of that. But actually, look, I'm a big fan of changing your diet. I'm a big fan of exercise. I'm a big fan of sleep. But those things on their own are going to have a lot less effect than really getting control of your drinking, because drinking has such a huge impact, even at quite moderate levels. So sorting out your drinking will improve your life more than sorting out your diet or doing some exercise or getting some blackout blinds. So I think companies really need to take what they're already doing about well-being and mental health and realize that alcohol needs to be a vital component of that.
Yeah. A lot of people tend to use alcohol as almost like a social lubricant. And we mentioned about de-stressing. What are some alternatives for people who do have that kind of social anxiety and also have that stress feeling after work? What are some strategies that they can use instead of alcohol?
Okay, in terms of dealing with stress, doing nothing would be better. I mean, literally just sitting on the sofa and staring into space. Almost anything you can think of. Look, I know the TV gets a bit of a bad rap. If you just watch TV rather than watching TV and drinking alcohol, you'd improve your life. Personally, I like reading. I find that very relaxing. Personally, I walk quite a bit. I stretch quite a bit. I don't want to say I do yoga. I don't want to get people getting the wrong idea. So, yeah, look, there are a myriad of stress relieving things that you can do out there, and they are all far more effective than alcohol. In terms of social anxiety, honestly, there are some people that struggle with social anxiety. They don't go to pubs, though. They actually don't go to parties because they suffer from social anxiety. What most people would describe as social anxiety is just it's normal life. So whenever you go to a party, even if you know a few people there, but let's say a few people, but not everybody there, there's a lot of people you don't know there, you're going to be nervous. That's just a fact. Now, if you do nothing, those nerves will disappear and you'll just get used to it because that's the way it works. However, what we do is we drink some alcohol and we go, oh, look at that, I got rid of my nerves. It wasn't. They just disappeared anyway. Think about it. What is the most nerve-wracking thing you can think of? As a 5-year-old, it's going to a birthday party of somebody who you do a club with, but you don't go to their school. Because you'll know a couple of people from the club, but most people you won't know them because they're not from your school. And what will you do as a 5-year-old? You might hang on to daddy's leg for a little bit, but you'll see everybody having fun and then you'll go and have fun. And 10 minutes later, you'll be trying to tear the radiators off the wall because that's the way it works. We are nervous at the start of a social event, but we get into it. It goes. You do not need alcohol to do that. In fact, I was at a networking event recently. And I walked in and there were 2 people I knew there and they were talking. And the way sometimes people are talking and you think they don't want to be disturbed. So I looked around, I didn't know anybody else there. I thought I'll go over and make myself a cup of tea. I went and made a cup of tea. I had a cup of tea and I felt a lot more relaxed and I went and talked to somebody. Would you say that was the tea that did it? Oh, of course not. If it was a pint, if I told exactly the same story of the pint, everybody would be going, oh.
Yeah. It's almost like classical conditioning. We associate the alcohol with reducing our nerves where it's actually just time at the event. That's the dangerous bit.
Far be it from me to compare people to pigeons, but look, you are dead. We believe that alcohol makes us relaxed in social situations. So when we don't get any alcohol in social situations, we feel stressed. But that's just because we believe that. If you believed that alcohol ruined social occasions, you'd go to that social occasion and enjoy it a lot more. I know this.
Yeah, no, I know it too. Do you think it's exposure therapy as well? Do you think it's just like the more conversations you have sober, the more new people you meet sober, the easier it gets and the less likely you're going to use alcohol?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example of talking to somebody and I'll say to them, why do you drink? And they'll say, oh, it helps me socialize. And I'll go, all right, tell me about the last time you went out socializing. They'll look a little bit sheepish and they'll start to talk about how they drank too much and they felt like a bit of an idiot and they think they might have offended such. And they woke up in the next morning with this kind of feeling of dread, like they because they couldn't quite remember what was going on at the end of the evening. And I'm like, that helped you socialize, did it? And they're like, oh, I know you come to mention it, Duncan, not so much. That is the primary way that you destroy beliefs. You actually talk about them, you bring them out into the light, and you think about them, because most people think drinking helps me to socialize. And it's until you help them to unpack that and go into that and prove to themselves that it really didn't, that's when they start to change their beliefs. Yeah, you're absolutely right that they do need to go to a few social occasions to break that association, and they need some tools to help them around those social occasions. But you don't need to do it very many times. You'll quite quickly see. In fact, sometimes it happens the first go. They'll just go, wow, this is so much better.